Hey everybody, welcome to Aniki, the podcast about anime with two brothers. I'm Ben.
And I'm a Harajuku nightmare.
What kind of Harajuku nightmare? Oh lord.
I told you, I'm a Harajuku nightmare.
Oh man. That's special. This Animal
the Easter
Crossing.
set is out at Animal Crossing.
I see that.
I have the Easter party dress and the hat.
Not to mention the axe.
Please don't.
Is that axe also part of the Easter special?
Do you think it is?
Yes. And if not, I'll be very sad.
It's not.
Dang it. Okay.
Here we are.
So what have you been up to since last we spoke?
What have I been up to? Well, I've been at home.
Have you?
Spoilers.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I know. I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing.
Uh-huh.
I played through Doom 2016.
So that's not the new one.
That's Doom Eternal. I've not played that one.
Okay.
I played Doom 2016.
Okay. Is it good?
Oh, yeah, it's very good. It's very much like the old Doom.
I do like me some Doom 2.
It's in that vein. It's very good. Because it just doesn't... It's not like that Doom that came out a while back that was like a survival horror game. No. This is like, man, you're gonna fuck up some demons, dude.
I mean, that is the idea.
You're just killing them. You just murder them. You murder demons. A lot of them.
Oh, good.
You murder them to death.
Well,
And it's hell on Mars, as it should be.
aren't they already dead, so to speak? If they're demons?
Some are. I mean, I guess.
I've never actually thought too hard about the Doom mythology.
Good, because you shouldn't. No one should. And that's what this game gets right. It's like, look, dude, there's hell on Mars because we're using hell for its energy. Because that's a smart idea.
It totally was. You don't know.
And now Mars is hell, literally.
Yay! You watched anything?
Unfortunately.
Have you watched anything besides what we're going to talk about?
Oh, still plugging away at Carol on Tuesday. The new episodes of Star Wars Clone Wars.
Well, that's good. I've watched many things, turns out. Would you like to hear about them?
Sure.
Well, one thing I watched was Rise of the Shield Hero.
I have no idea what that is.
Rising of the Shield Hero? You'll know once I show you this, if you pay any attention at all to
I probably
the internet.
don't. I don't really.
It's the show with this raccoon girl in it.
This raccoon girl. Tom Nook?
No.
Okay. Yeah, no.
It's an
this does
isekai
nothing for me.
from last year, maybe the year before.
Sure.
Turns out it's not actually that bad. It's pretty okay. I won't go so far as to say it's the best show I've ever watched, because it isn't. And a lot of people make it out to be amazing.
Rising of the Shield Hero.
But it's good. It's got some pacing problems, but that's about all I can say negative about it, I think. It's worth watch if you have nothing else to do.
I mean, sure. Is it better than Sword Art Online?
Oh yes, far and away. That's a really bad baseline to go off of. Let's see what else. Started watching Railgun again.
Oh, see, there you go.
The first one. It's been a while. I had forgotten how much sexual harassment is in that show.
Oh, I'm sure there's a bunch.
And it's not from other dudes. It's from her roommate. I forget her name.
Yeah, we see this.
Yeah, it's a surprising amount, turns out. But it's so good. And then I watched two shows that came out or started this week. So that we talked about. One was Listeners.
Oh, how was that?
Well, I've only seen one episode, and it's there. It exists.
Was it a very trigger first episode?
Is that the Trigger show?
I think so.
There were two shows that had Listener in the title. I can't remember which one was which. Listeners. It did feel Trigger-esque, if it is by Trigger.
No.
Well, it felt Trigger-esque anyway, but it also felt like it was channeling both Alita and Fooly Cooly at the same time.
I mean, that could be good.
I only say challenging or channeling those two properties because it didn't feel like the spiritual successor to either one.
After that's probably for the best.
The girl that he finds in the trash heap has amnesia.
I mean, obviously, you didn't even have to tell me that.
By amnesia, I mean she doesn't remember her name, and that's about as far as that amnesia goes. Because otherwise, she talks a lot about she likes this thing, she doesn't like that thing, she knows some things that are going on, but basically it's a chance for the main character to explain what the hell's going on.
Yeah, fair enough.
And That's it. Then they fight some earless.
Okay.
Some Miminashis who their character designs have ears, so it's very confusing.
Okay, well, fair enough.
But yeah, I also watched an episode of Tower of God.
How was that?
So it's based off of a Korean webcomic, turns out, that some guy started drawing back in like 2010-ish. Apparently he's been translated in 8 different languages and has been published several times, which is good for him.
Yeah, good.
But the show is structured like a webcomic. There's basically no lead in. It's just, here we go. And it's half episodes. So 2 episodes per show.
That's interesting.
The art style is amazing.
I bet.
But it's also it's both simplistic and very symbolic at the same time. So it's heavy symbolism, but you're not really sure what it's for. So think cat soup. So if it's going to go that direction, it's got a long road ahead of it, or a long tower, I guess.
Yeah. High or low.
But the other thing is they give you the setup, which is, hey, this guy's girlfriend, or at least his love interest, went to the top of the tower and he's going to chase her. So he has to go through each level. Each level has trials. That's it. So there's the plot. So when he gets to the next level, it's like, well, here are the rules, go. That's it.
There you go.
I don't know. I like the art style.
I mean, that's good.
But it has a lot to live up to based on its own premise. It is the Tower of Babel, by the way.
Okay.
They make no bones about that.
Fair enough.
I'll probably keep watching that one. Not sure about this listener show, though. And then all the other shows that we wanted to watch, they don't start until, like, the isekai about the girl in the game. That starts tomorrow.
Ah, well.
So
gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah, there's not much to look forward to these days.
No.
Like, looking forward to talking about Castlevania Season 3.
Hey, it's not very good.
I am so mad about it. I'm so mad about it.
I mean, I don't care enough one way or the other.
Well, I'm mad because we watched the first 2 seasons. Go link in the description to listen to our episode, our review about that. I was like, okay, based on the trailer, this looks like it's going to get back to what we thought this show was going to be about. Fighting.
Action, maybe?
Action, fighting demons, things blowing up, blood and guts, the whole 9 yards.
It's not, though.
I got the opposite of that.
Yep.
At least 80%.
It's like, it's like 8 episodes of 5 different plots going on. Only like 2 of which are interesting. And then there's an animation showcase at the end. And you're like, okay. I'm telling you, it pulls the streaming trick where you can make all the other episodes bad if your last episode gives you a good impression. And then people are like, oh, well, this show was good, because you forget the other episodes that were bad.
Yeah.
Or in which nothing happened.
I even fell into that trap too, because I went through episode 8 or through episode 7, and I was like, I'm so angry. I just need to vent at some people. So I ranted at them for a bit. I was like, I don't want to watch the rest of this. And then I watched the last 3 episodes. First one was, ugh. The next 2, I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't such a bad show. And then I realized the trap I was falling into.
Exactly. I mean, the back half is definitely better than the front half. This is without a doubt true. But it's the binge trap. Yeah. And more shows, I think, are doing it, where it's just like, well, if you binge it, then we can make a bunch of... Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, too, because it increases the length of the show for no reason. Because there's a bunch of scenes in this that just don't need to be there. There's whole arcs that are just pointless and go nowhere. So you've bloated the length of your show with pointless crap that you have designed for me to forget by just making the last 2 episodes pretty good.
Yeah, which maybe it makes sense in like a serialized cop show or whatever, maybe your generic superhero thing where you can just sprinkle in special effects here and there. But this is animated. Like, all of this is labor intensive.
Yeah.
So you're basically just blowing money on what?
Nothing. On nothing. On nothing.
Ugh. So you want to give us like the elevator pitch of season 3 before we go into spoiler land?
Which elevator pitch? There's 5 things going on in
this.
Are
there 5? I thought there were only 4.
So let's see. Okay.
So number 1.
There's Trevor and Cypher. There's 1.
Okay.
There is Alucard. That's 2.
That's 2, yeah.
There's Isaac.
3.
That's 3.
Yep.
There is the other one and Eleanor.
Right. Hector.
Yep, Hector and Eleanor. And then there's the Vampirus Council, which is about like a half one.
I rolled all those into the fourth one.
Well, except like half of the stuff that Vampire Council talk about don't matter to the Hector-Eleanor plot at all. At all. They don't matter to anything at all.
It's a setup for season 4. Come on.
It's not even set up for season 4. You can get set up in season 4 through the Eleanor plot. But no, this is just a bunch of conversations between two characters that do nothing, talk about nothing, resolve nothing, and set up practically nothing. It's pointless. It doesn't need to be in the show.
There are a lot of things that don't need to be in the show.
It's the political equivalent of a parking scene in a bad movie. It's there to establish something that does not need to be established.
So let's break this down real quick. So elevator pitch for one. We got Cypher and Trevor. They go to a little town that has a really spooky priory full of deranged monks.
Yeah, run by, let's not kid ourselves, Rasputin.
He's definitely Rasputin.
He's definitely Rasputin.
So that's that plot. There's something about...
That plot's pretty okay.
They've got a night creature, and there's another guy who's really... What's his name? Saint Germain. He's an interesting
cool.
fellow.
I liked him.
And that's one plot. So second plot you said was Alucard.
Yeah.
Alucard's lonely. That's it. That's that plot.
That's the plot.
3. Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac goes from point A to point B. That's it.
That
he has some very interesting conversations. Which
does he though?
We'll get to that. He goes on a ship for a bit.
Some of the conversations are actually fairly interesting.
And he is continuously disappointed by everything.
And he remains the most interesting character in the show because it looks like he actually has a character arc.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of cool. So that's kind of nice. It's novel.
That's 3.
How does this show have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't understand.
Does it? I thought it was 80%.
It does. No, it's 100 for this season. And I don't understand it.
For this season?
For this season.
Okay, we'll get to that too.
I don't understand.
The mental notes are stacking.
I don't understand it.
So, okay, arc 4, you got Hector and Eleanor.
I did like this arc. I like Eleanor as a character because, I mean, she's half yandere and kind of a little bit.
A little bit.
She's in that vein, so I'm a big fan.
Hector was captured by Camilla.
Yep.
But then Camilla realized, oh wait, if my plans of empire building are to be successful, I need a night creature army. And I've really stunk up the relationship I had with this Forge Master guy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Eleanor, please go fix it.
Yeah, Eleanor, fix it. So she uses...
Oh, no, Lenore.
Oh, yes, Lenore. Lenore, baby sister, go use your diplomacy skills that no one else thinks matter too much. Bring him back to the fold. So that's that plot.
It's a good plot. I liked it.
And then we have your 5th arc, which is the War Council. The Vampire Council of blood drinking from cups.
They don't really do anything. They're like, we're going to take over this stretch of land and have an empire. Yup. Somehow we dedicate about 5 to 15 minutes per episode to this.
Yep.
For no reason. We could buy off their mercenaries.
You could.
These 2 vampires are lesbian.
Did you know that?
That's the plot. That's the plot. That's it. Nothing happens. Those are okay character things, and they're okay to explain, but we don't need to devote time to it.
So I would say, having finished the thing, we have really 2 arcs. Well, maybe 3. But for me, 2 arcs that I liked a bunch. And this is a low baseline, a bunch.
Yeah
relative to the rest of the series. So you got the back half of the Trevor and Cypher arc.
Yeah.
I liked the wrap up of that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the Isaac arc, even though it ended weird. And I liked up to the very end of the Lenore arc.
Yeah, I would agree. The Isaac arc, it needs help.
It needs help.
I'm a bit almost the opposite, where I feel like a lot of the Isaac arc is pretty good until the end, and then you're just confused. The Lenore arc, the end is kind of stupid, but...
It is. It could have been way better.
It could have been better.
So...
But...
Would you recommend anybody watch Castlevania if they've not seen it before and watch it through season 3?
Well, look, it's complicated. It's fine. This is definitely one of those shows where I can sit down and say, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If it had a 60 to 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'd be like, yeah, no, that sounds about right. It's worth watching if you want to.
And see, the first season did have an 80%.
It's not great, but, it's probably worth a watch. The fact that it gets rave reviews just confuses the heck out of me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, because it's not great. It's, pretty good. The animation and character designs can be fantastic, but they don't spend much of the show doing that. So it leaves you with this awkward situation of what is this show trying to do? And I don't know.
I don't think it knows either.
I don't know.
And I think that's the problem.
I think it wants to be Game of Thrones, but the writing's not great. It's not good enough for that. The political intrigue is really kind of bad. The theology in it is awful. It's points that it's trying... I don't know what points it's trying to make at all, because it's like church bad, but also all the main characters use churchy things to defeat the demons?
Protestantism, maybe?
I mean, you would think that's like, well, if there's the true science, then we would use that to defeat the demons, because that's the theme of the show. But no. Our main character kills all the demons with his whip blessed by priests who are supposedly all evil, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand that. It has a big problem where normally in an action drama show like Castlevania is trying to be, your internal character conflicts are mirrored by your external action conflicts. That's how these shows run.
Generally speaking, yes.
This doesn't have that. It just has a bunch of people talking to each other about nothing that really matters, and then they fight a demon at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it has really no relation to whatever emotional or drama or any sort of interpersonal arc or interpersonal arcs that could be going on.
Yeah.
The closest they got to this in this season was with the Alucard stuff, but it was pretty ham-handed and bad, and had a character to turn that really didn't make any sense and wasn't needed.
Yeah, we can go over those more detail here in a minute. So I would say season 2 was probably the best one so far.
Yeah.
Season 3, unfortunately, I think just carried on the tradition of the first two.
Which is we'll have a bunch of pokers in the fire because, hey, that works for Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll have an action sequence at the end, and we'll not really.
But there's actually some meta problems with it. Like, I know that the voice cast in this show is star-studded. You got a bunch of big names in your voice cast.
Well, there's your problem.
And that's to be applauded, but I don't feel like any of these people, like, bless their hearts, they don't know how to voice act for animation.
I mean, that's most actors' problems. The big problem with American voice acting is we don't have voice actors. We have actors who we then tap to be in animated movies.
And it might be fine if the sound design afterwards, tweaked things. But most of the show, I'm sitting there physically turning the volume up and down so I can understand what they're saying. Because a lot of them just talk like this. And it's really hard. Like, why? What is the purpose of that? Is it mood? Like, you can do that with just your atmosphere. You don't need that all the time. All your characters need to be brooding constantly.
And here's another thing, right? So this TV show is structured like prestige television. It's structured like a TV show. What I mean by that is Mark Rosewater once cleverly put that TV shows come out of the radio drama tradition, which means a good TV show you can not be looking at, just hear the dialogue and understand what's going on almost perfectly.
Yeah.
A movie and film is the opposite. They come out of theater. So you should be able to mute a movie, just watch it, and understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Animation is more like film than it is TV.
I would agree with that.
You want to be able to follow the whole plot, the whole idea of the show, just by watching it, because otherwise, why would you use the medium of animation?
Yeah.
But this show is like television. It's structured in such a way that I don't have to watch it to understand what's going on.
This is true.
Because it's not utilizing the fact that it's animated very well most of the time.
Like the last 2 episodes aside, you're right. 100%.
like, I mean, every once in a while they'll break into like, oh wait, we can be an animation showcase, and it's like, okay, good, do that, because that's what you should be doing as an animated show. You should be playing up the fact that, like, what was it? You just linked me that Lindsay Ellis Katz thing, right? And the whole idea of the medium is your message. Like that is true. Animation should be doing something because it's animated.
Most of this show you could make into just a live action show with minimal budget. Right. Get some props from Game of Thrones that were thrown out with the rest of the 8th season. Get some costumes and turn the lights off. That's what you got. Yeah. Right. Until the last 2 episodes, in which case, yes, you need animation to actually pull this off, or a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah. For your VFX. But the other problem with this show is just the writing is bad. Like,
it's not good.
It's not good.
Very
and
bad
I looked
writing.
up the writer because I'm like, there are fundamental problems with just everything in this show. And I can't blame it on the animation. I feel like it comes down to the writer. Like, the writing is just not good.
It's not great.
And I don't even know if it's the directing. I mean, the directing is haphazard.
In episode 9 was bad.
But if you want to look up the guy, it's Warren Ellis. What is he known for? He's known for comic books. And he's known for his socio-cultural commentary.
You mean Church Bad?
Which covers transhumanism and folkloric themes. And he's a patron of a bunch of humanism and secularism groups. Shocking no one.
Yeah, shocking no one who's watched Castlevania. Here's the problem, though, is that doesn't make any sense with the world of Castlevania, because Castlevania is, well, it's a gothic story, and humanism and gothic themes don't mesh.
They don't.
Like at all. Gothic stuff is pretty much all I am play God, bad things happen.
Did we ever determine, like, when exactly the show is set? Like, is it pre-Enlightenment, post-Enlightenment?
It's...
I mean, it's Eastern Europe, so even if it was post-Enlightenment, it took a while for that to shuffle that direction, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, Enlightenment hasn't happened in Romania at this time, right? So it's still steeped in folklore. I don't want to use the word mysticism, but it's sort of like this, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not shamanistic, but it's like nature-centric, environmental spiritualism, right? Type of stuff you see out of Japan, especially stuff set back in the day with yokai and kamis and all that. Okay, well, you're taking this setting, which is steeped in the environment is reality, even if we're making things up with our minds, like, I don't know, vampires or whatever. Like, people believe them, and that makes them real. It's phenomenologically real. And if you try to insert secularism into that with your quote-unquote true science, it just doesn't land. Like,
no, it doesn't.
It just feels anachronistic and forced.
You have a conflict between the theme that he wants to write and the themes of the genre and setting. There's a big mismatch there.
I mean, you could possibly pull it off with, we're going to force enlightenment into this rural setting and people will become enlightened, right? And see the true error of their ways and work towards something else. But that doesn't work in Castlevania, because the Castlevania is about monsters and demons from literal hell.
From literal hell that you kill with powers from not hell.
It just doesn't work.
It really doesn't.
I don't know why they keep using this dude. Yeah. As far as I know, he's written every single episode. Yeah, it looks like he has.
He's not great.
Okay, that's enough about him. What about, let's go through these arcs one at a time.
Yeah, all right.
Trevor and Cypher, this is your main arc.
I guess, except we don't really devote much time to it until the back half of the season.
I did like the idea that after the big fight with Dracula and all the other vampires that, forget the word.
Let's look at it this way real fast, right?
Sure.
So, generously speaking, there are 4 arcs going through in this, right? Mm-hmm. And they touch on each one just about every episode. And each episode's about 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
That gives you about 5 to 8 minutes per story, per episode.
Generally, yeah.
That's bad. There's your problem.
It's not a lot of time to devote to anything and really have it set well.
It's not.
So Trevor and Cypher, I like this turn where they just got done fighting Dracula and all the other vampires at whatever the name of this capital was. Brayla. And they're now, quote unquote, taking a break and just going through the countryside, mopping up night creatures. And they make it to this new town, and Cypher gets a lot of nervous energy, and she's like, I want to go on more adventures because all I've known in my past was book learning and domestic stuff, and this is exciting. Yay. And to have it turn from that to the end of the arc with Trevor's line of, we spent the last couple of weeks living in your world, now you're going to live in my world, because this is the kind of crap I'm used to. See, I liked that part. But that part just really bookended the whole arc. It wasn't a through line. It was, here's the setup. No, not at all. And she's nervous and she wants to go on an adventure. And then when she gets it, she now doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And she only now doesn't like it because of what the judge did.
Now, can we talk about that?
The judge?
Because it comes out of left field and does nothing and is pointless other than just to be like, everyone in this world sucks.
See, it wasn't pointless because they foreshadowed it with a secret door.
Yeah, that was
it.
It was pointless. All it's there is to be like, this world sucks. And you're like, oh, okay.
I liked having a character who was still of Trevor's ilk. Like, he had the same personality as Trevor, but he was grounded in, I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah.
And to just throw that away for the sake of shock factor, which is what it was, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was. It's just there to be disturbing and shocking, and you're like, oh, but it doesn't do anything. It plays with no themes. It has no through line. The only thing I guess you could say is because it has something to do with the evils of orderliness.
I guess. Problem is it. Yes, it was foreshadowed in like episode 7 where the judge is by himself in his house and he's looking into a secret door that the audience cannot see. And that's it.
Yeah, but that's not even foreshadowing because it has nothing to do with who he is as a person that we've seen.
It isn't. Right? The most we've seen is that he likes to keep order, and he does make a big deal about how everybody knows everything else in the size of this village. Like every farm accident, every death is felt personally by everybody. Like he tells Trevor this, and then we find out, oh, also he's killed like all the children. Like surely someone would have noticed.
Yeah.
By his own admission, everyone should just know. And that should be like, if you want to foreshadow this for real, you need to have some lines from the townsfolk going, hey, have you seen what's his name's kid?
Well, and it needs to matter, right? Like if you're going to have a character who serial kills children, it should matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't.
It doesn't. And I can't even think based on his character, like how would it matter to the story?
Yeah.
And I can't think of a good way to integrate that into the story other than just reveal, shock, he's a bad guy.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. You've made the show a little bit worse.
It didn't need to happen. It doesn't need to be there at all.
Now, Saint Germain, though, I liked him.
He's an interesting character because he's a character. He has wants and needs and wants to grow as a person.
He's a little off-putting, but, you know, he's a character even in the world that he lives in, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's been all over Europe. He's hobnobbed with the best. In fact, they even hint that this character invented absinthe. That was interesting because there is a liqueur, an absinthe liqueur named Germain. So, like, that is nice. That's a nice touch. And yeah, he wants to get to the infinite corridor to, we assume, rescue or meet up with some partner of his. It's unclear as to what the relationship between them is. Regardless, it's strong. The problem with it is, we see the flashback in his dream of when he lost his partner. He reaches out to her to come with him, and all she does is throw him this jewel. Like, she hesitates. She could have made it and decides, nope, screw that, have this jewel instead. And he wants to get back there. He does keep it a secret from everyone as to why he wants to reach the infinite corridor, but the audience never really finds out either.
And that's fine for a foreshadowing for another season. Like that's
it could be, but I also feel like it didn't set up anything for another season. Like if it had hinted a little bit at, okay, this other realm where the partner now inhabits, this infinite book world with clocks and gears and stuff. Like if that had any hint as to being relevant to the problem at hand of night creatures and whatever. Like if he had said, we entered the infinite corridor trying to find this one mystical realm full of infinite knowledge, right? Or God's library, you could call it. If they were trying to reach that, okay, now you've set up, here's a device that we can use later down the road. We don't have to, but it's there if we want it. But we didn't get what that context is. He has now completed his character arc by the end of this season. There's no reason for him to exist after this season. So I'm a little sad about that. I would love to see him again, although I doubt I'm going to keep watching this. But I did like some of the alchemy stuff. That was neat. Got a little bit of lessons on alchemy.
Alchemical symbols, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Constant reminders that the writer of the show has no idea how religion works.
No, nor the history thereof.
And here's where the show really falls flat, is if you have, quote unquote, the church in a property, you can get away with that and go hog wild. Look to the Fate universe, right?
Yeah.
The Naziverse. They have the church. You can also look at Hellsing. It's related to Castlevania. They also have the church. But they don't really go into specifics as what the church is. You assume it's Rome, but they don't really allude to any specifics. They're just like, it's the church. It's over there. It's set apart and against this organization. Yeah. They both have similar goals, but they are at odds with one another.
Yeah, yeah.
And Castlevania, up until this season, was still firmly in that camp of, it's the church. They do have clergy. They got priests. They've got His Holiness, but it really could be any religion. It doesn't need to be anything specific. And then in this season, somebody declares Trevor the, quote, hero Jesus. That's not good for you guys.
Yeah.
And then they go even further and specifically call out Christians and Christianity. I'm like, well, now you have firmly planted your property in historical religion.
Yeah, and now you got yourself a big pickle. Because now you're in a big pickle. Because you're in Eastern Europe.
Uh-huh.
And the form that your church is taking in this is overwhelmingly Roman Catholic. Well, you got a problem with that. Primarily of, please look at the actual flag of Wallachia, the real place. And now you see your problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the church that's there.
It's not. And even if it was, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
If you kept the whole vagueness, you could have done whatever. And people were just like, it's an allegory for Rome. We get it. Ham-fisted, but fine. But now you've rooted it. There's no getting out of this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Second one. I already forgot what they were.
It's got to be Isaac, right?
No,
I had to have done
Isaac second. That was your third one. What was the second?
Third.
Alucard.
Oh, Alucard.
See, we already forgot what Alucard. Alucard was in this season.
It's because it doesn't really do anything. It's some character development, but not really. It's he tries to have character development, but then it's denied to him, and then you're like, oh, well, okay.
So I liked the setup of that arc where Alucard is by himself. It's the classic thing at the end of the last season. You got, okay, we're going to gift to you this big castle, and your plot arc is done. And this season starts with, okay, when the hero gets that thing and now he's in isolation, what happens afterwards? Like his adventure's over. Now what happens? And I liked that setup. Like he's clearly losing his mind a little bit. He doesn't really know what to do with himself. So I was curious, what are they going to do with Alucard? Is he going to join Trevor and Cypher? Is he going to go on his own adventure? No, adventure finds him in the loosest sense.
Yep.
With these
loosest sense. I get it. That's pretty good.
So you got these two characters who are from Japan, played by Japanese actors, which I appreciated. And then they want training from him so they can go back to Japan and defeat other vampires because they were in Cho's court, who was a minor vampire from the first two seasons. Mm-hmm. And they want training. And they keep asking about, hey, does the travel mechanism in the castle still work? And he's like, no, it's been screwed since Cypher melted the entire thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And then they keep asking him about it. And up until the last episode 9, right? Up until episode 9, that was it. They were training. They were going to learn some magic.
Yeah. I mean, you had a vague feeling that something's not right with these two, but that's about it.
They did do sidelong glances at each other. So you're like, okay, they're up to something.
But you never find out what that something is.
Until it's too late.
Even episode 9, you still don't find out what they're up to.
They do mention we need to give him something as a gift because he never gets gifts, and we want him to feel appreciated because he probably doesn't want us to leave because he's lonely.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that will be. I put it out of my mind. And then episode 9 hits. I'm like, okay, A, that's not what I expected. But B,
no, not at all.
Because it's not just I wasn't expecting a threesome with a vampire. It was, this comes out of extreme left field.
Yep.
It's like, what did we hint at with this ever? Because one time they rolled around in the grass?
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
I don't know, man.
That's quite a leap.
And then they're like, haha, we have used sex to murder you. And it's like, why? Because you won't tell us how the castle moves.
So we're going to kill you.
Why do you care? You're getting everything you want.
They get everything they want. They think,
what's your motivation here?
They try to explain the motivation, which is, you have been hiding things from us. You betrayed us. And so we're going to take what we want. Okay. They've tied him down with what I assume is some sort of silver thread.
That would be my guess.
They've tied him to the bed. He's helpless. We're shown that he cannot transform. He can't do anything. He's tied down. At that point, they've won. They can now have whatever they want.
Okay.
And they're like, we're going to make this castle move. I'm like, okay, well, they've got him. How's he going to get out of this? They're going to take control of the castle or something. And then they're like, so now that we got you tied down and you won't tell us what we want to know, we'll just stab you and kill you.
We'll just murder you to death. And you're like, oh, okay.
Why?
I mean, that's the thing to do with the person who's been giving you everything you want.
And still has all the things you think you need.
I mean, that's what I like about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. After Willy Wonka has given him the Chocolate Factory, and you know, his life has been changed. Charlie looks at Willy Wonka and says, "Yes, but you didn't tell me how to make everlasting gobstoppers," and then he shoots him. That I don't understand.
I don't get it either. Like even assenting to your point, like, they still think he has something that he won't share with them. Yeah. And they've got him dead to rights. They can take it. They can just pump him for information now. But nope, they're just going to kill him. And so he kills them both. And we end with nothing been accomplished.
Yeah, no, he's lonely. But now he's going to be broody in his loneliness. And you're like, oh, okay.
Neat.
Neat,
like, I was already not okay with that whole arc because nothing was happening. It was just more
nothing at all was happening.
If you remember the last season 2, our whole complaint was they spend the entire time in the library and that was pointless. Hopefully they never do that again. And they did it again.
Yeah.
They literally did it again.
They just like not doing things in the show. They like having characters and then have them not do things, which is a bold choice in a TV show.
A TV show about action adventure.
Yeah.
Subverting expectations.
I mean, I guess so.
Okay, so arc 3, Isaac.
Okay.
So I liked Isaac's arc up until the end.
The end's just confusing.
It was a journey, but he never arrived at his destination. Like his point in this season was, I have my night creatures, and as long as people are nice to me, which is a bold thing to say when you've got a horde of night creatures behind you.
Yeah.
I want people to treat me with respect and be kind to me. And when they're not, I'm going to kill them all. Okay, hard to get your point across, but fine. His aim, though, is to get to Hector and kill the betrayer.
Good goal.
It is a good goal. I like it. I thought he was going to get there at the end, and he didn't. So, setting up for season 4 and 5, I guess. But instead, we just get this journey from here, where we start after he's gotten out of Africa, to somewhere.
Yeah.
I still don't know where he ended up. We spent a whole episode there, and I don't know why.
Fighting some guy.
But on the way, he has some interesting conversations, specifically with the ship captain.
Yeah, those were good. A little ham-fisted again, but, at least good.
Yeah.
At least interesting.
You can be ham-fisted in an action show. It's fine.
Yeah. That predicates this show being an action show. Which I'm not quite so sure it is.
That's fair.
Evidence seems to say it's a show that has some action in it.
But you learned a lot about Isaac. You found out that he's at least nominally Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he talks with the captain, you find out he's not been praying, and he's still a pretty pious guy, despite all evidence. You know, it's the beginnings of a real character arc. Maybe Isaac, despite his methods, is actually the good guy here.
Maybe.
Maybe he's going to kill all the vampires himself, Trevor be damned, and he'll have an empire of peace with night creatures, or at least that's what he hopes, and then Trevor kills him anyway.
Yeah.
Probably something like that. But it's still an arc.
Sure.
He goes from villain to sympathetic villain.
Anti-hero.
Yeah.
Well, he would go from villain to anti-hero, which is like, okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then that whole plot goes swimmingly up until he meets this old woman.
I guess maybe Baba Yaga? I don't know.
Could be Baba Yaga.
I don't know. Could be.
And she mentions, oh, there's a town over there where all of the humans have been enslaved by an evil sorcerer.
Mm-hmm. Now, you must understand this, dear listener. You must understand this is brought up in episode 8.
Uh-huh.
That there's an evil wizard in the next town over who's enslaved the population. Episode 8. Near the end of episode 8.
Not only the population of that city, but the one that Isaac is currently at, which is devoid of people, save for this one lone old woman who reveals herself to be a old woman of power. We don't get a name. We don't get context other than she used to be powerful, maybe still is, but somehow she allowed the sorcerer to take all the people. Okay, fine. So we go to the next city. Isaac, who up until this point has been rethinking things, is like, I might be for the downtrodden. I'm going to go after those in power, those slave masters, and the soldiers, the military might, the patriarchy, whatever. I'm going to kill them, turn them into night creatures, and then I will have my own nation. So he gets there and just starts slaughtering all the mind control people.
Yep.
And then he has a pretty, animation-wise, amazing fight. There are people flying all over, turning into a giant ball of humanity, which probably...
It's very Junji Ito.
Very Junji Ito. It's very interesting.
All this kind of comes out of nowhere.
It does. And then he gets up to the top of the tower, and there's an old man. And
it's just some no-name. Just some guy.
And then he stabs him.
It's just a guy.
That's it.
They're just like, in episode 8, there's an old guy over here. And like, ooh, I wonder who it could be. Is it actually going to be the old woman? Is it going to be like someone interesting from our past? No, it's just some guy.
And I was thinking, okay, well, it's just some guy. He's going to be turned into like the most amazing night creature. Maybe
or
even
something.
Dracula himself. Who knows? No, he just stabs him. And then you're like, okay, well, he stabbed him.
Okay.
He will take control of this town, and he will turn all these people into his army of night creatures. But instead he goes outside and tells his remaining night creatures, because a lot of them have been slaughtered. He's like, just take all the people and kill them and throw them out. But they're there. You can build an army now.
I don't understand.
Why have you done this to my Isaac?
Well, why have they done this at all? Why have they wasted our time by having him come somewhere that we've never mentioned before, kill a guy that has no relation to any plot thread of the entire show, and spend so much money, animation, and time on it?
Well, the only thing I could think of is they do mention that this magician, this sorcerer guy, does have a giant mirror that can transport armies.
That's fair. He does have the army transport mirror.
Which, cool. Now he needs an army, and then he disposes of the fodder for his army.
Yeah. But, I mean, even if he's got the motivation of the mirror there, that doesn't forgive just having some rando having it.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Well, they did.
You don't do that in a story.
It's a bold choice.
The thing you need is over there, but it's protected by this bad guy. It's like, okay, he goes and kills the bad guy and gets it. Did the bad guy have anything to do with anything else? Is he connected to any other thing? No.
No, but he had an interesting symbolic crown of thorns on the people that he was controlling. And he almost controlled Isaac, which would have been very interesting.
It would have been interesting, except you can't do that because then you're like, some rando has now controlled one of our main characters.
No, I think you could still do that. I think they could have put that crown of thorns on his head, And now he's been outmatched. He doesn't know what to do. And to break out, like, we have to do this introspection thing, which wouldn't fit in the last 2 episodes, but fine.
No.
He needs to figure out, who he really is deep down. And that would break the spell, and then you can just kill him. It doesn't need to be a named bad guy, but he needs to serve a purpose other than he holds the MacGuffin that we need.
Yeah, he served this evil wizard serves zero purpose. He is set up to be an obstacle that is overcome, but that's it. Just a physical obstacle.
It's not even really an obstacle because Isaac gets up there by himself and he kills him. Yeah, like, there's no consequence.
It's nothing. He's pointless.
There's no hardship, and you can get away with that if you're the hero. Like, we all know Trevor has plot armor because it's about him. Cypher doesn't, but he does. So he's never in trouble. But Isaac, they could kill Isaac off any time, especially if they want to try to be Game of Thrones, or at least wound him grievously. I'm like, well, how's he going to get out of this one? But it's effortless.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, plot 4. Actually, let's do plot 5 first.
Okay.
Because it's so short.
It's so short.
Camilla shows up, and there are some other vampires there. We got no-name big vampire, and we got no-name littler vampire, and we got Lenore.
They got names.
I don't remember them.
I can't remember them.
I don't
because they don't matter. They don't matter. They don't do things. It's a bold choice to have a show in which things don't happen.
So Camilla shows up after her long trek, and she's like, everything's gone to crap. I don't know what to do anymore. I need to think about it. And then literally 5 minutes later, she's come up with a plan.
Oh, a scheme.
That's an episode. No, well, she's got a plan. And she says, we're going to take over a 800-mile long strip between here and Brayla. Mm-hmm. And that'll be our feeding pin. And it'll be our little empire. It's like, okay, neat.
And see, that's all we needed. That's all we needed. All we needed was that scene there. And we need Hector to do this. Okay, good. Done. We've had a scene in which we moved a plot forward. We've explained what needs to happen. We're now going to execute that. And then we revisit this idea and this scene every episode from here on out.
We spend the rest of this series, anytime we cut to that room or that group, minus Lenore.
And they just have the same conversation.
They spend the rest of the time deciding if it's a plan or a scheme and if it's stupid or not. It's like, well, it's not stupid because she convinced you all to do it. Okay. So every once in a while, not every episode, but every once in a while, maybe be like, oh, we didn't think of this thing. That's going to be a real problem that we must overcome. But it never is. It's here's a problem. And then the big vampiress.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I didn't think about this problem. And now it's going to be a big issue because all these other surrounding countries, they have armies. And that's going to be a challenge. I'm like, that is going to be a challenge. How are you going to solve that? And then immediately her girlfriend is like, well, they have mercenaries and we just pay them. I've already thought of that. It's fixed. Okay. Then why did we have this? Why did we
have the scene?
Like, what did this serve? This served nothing. And then Camilla comes in and they talk about how it's a scheme again. Like,
there's just so much of this show spent not moving anything forward.
It's very frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating.
And then you got your last arc, which is the Lenore Hector arc.
This is at least interesting. Things occur.
Interesting.
Because you're like, there's tension. Because you're like, well, Lenore obviously does not care about Hector at all. And she's going to have to trick him into thinking that she does. Mm-hmm. And boy, howdy does she. And it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah. I think that she still actually did end up caring for him in her own way.
And see, no, exactly.
Right. But she also wants, that insurance. She needs that insurance. She used her womanly wiles to trick him, which wasn't really a trick, honestly. I'll back Lenore up on this. She asked him in the heat of coitus to devote himself to her, and he agrees. Yep. And
sure does.
He got a ring put on it.
What I like about this is it's the first time in this whole show that we've had a character who's supposedly clever with a scheme who actually has a clever scheme.
It's a very clever scheme.
They actually do something clever. They show us that it's clever. They don't just say that they're clever. Uh-huh. And they execute it. And you're like, that was a pretty good plan.
Now, would you like to know my thoughts on how this could have been even better?
They devote more time to it?
No, it would have made me really excited, despite all we said about season 3, to watch season 4. So at the beginning of this season, when they turn Hector over to Lenore, they sort of dismiss her as, oh, she'll just do the diplomacy thing.
Oh,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
if she hadn't given anybody else the rings, it would have been very good.
And then at the end, no, I thought it was going to be even better. She's like, okay, so I put this ring on Hector, and I've got a ring on me. It's a slave ring, and now he's bound to me. And then she distributes 3 more to the other vampires, and she's like, and so now you guys can control him too. And I fully expected and wished and desired that they were all going to put them all on at the same time. Like, we got him now. They put him on, and now they are bound to her as well.
Yeah,
like it's a coup, and it came out of left field. This would be a good subversion of expectations. These other characters have been spending so much time scheming and not really doing anything. Lenore's been the only one pushing anything forward. Mm-hmm. She's gotten results, and now she's taken over. Like, whoa, that would have been good.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because something would have happened. It's fascinating how much better a show can be when things happen in it.
Like, it just would have been so good if she had taken over. Now we have, from the audience perspective, Lenore we know she's evil, but she's not super evil. Like, maybe she has some good intentions.
No, I hope she still has another scheme, because she's the only one in the whole show, all 3 seasons, that's actually shown to be a true schemer with a good scheme.
I mean, technically, we never saw the other ones put the rings on. And given the way the show is directed, they could put them on out of frame, and then we just come back next season and, they're enslaved now, which would be really disappointing. But
yeah. Because even Carmilla last season, she had this big scheme of getting people to betray Dracula, but it was barely a scheme. It's just like, hey, do you want to join with me because Dracula's crazy? She just went up to every character in turn and asked that question. And everybody was just like, yeah, okay, until she got to Isaac. And Isaac was like, no, I signed up to kill humanity. That's what I want to do.
Let's also talk about episode 9.
It's very, very poorly directed.
Why? Why is episode 9?
I don't know.
Animation-wise, it's amazing.
It's got some pretty interesting stuff going on.
It's got a lot of stuff going on, but we've got all 5 plot threads moving at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, really 4. We don't really focus on the council in this one. So we got 4 plot threads going on, and they all are having their climaxes. Har har.
Har har.
And I literally thought to myself, is this the director really telling us all the plot threads are now literally having their climaxes? Because this is so badly directed.
It's just terribly edited. It made no sense. It was just like, here's how you should feel for this scene. Now we're going to change it and try and make you feel something completely different and then whiplash you back to another one. I think the intent was to make you feel uneasy and disturbed, but really it's just jarring and confusing.
It is. We went from Isaac with a giant ball of humanity and he's just raised a giant demon that we've never seen before. You're like, man, this guy, the wizard in there must be super powerful. Oh, wait, no, we've cut over to Friary. The monks have sacrificed their entire town in this horrific firestorm where you can see souls being sucked out, fed into. Hey, look, a titty.
Look, a tit. You're like,
what?
Okay.
Why? What is going on?
It's just bad.
Why are you intercutting sex scenes here? This doesn't.
I don't know.
No.
Because it's bad. It's bad. It's not good. It's the antithesis of good. It's not well put together.
And I was so hopeful. I genuinely was. If anyone's listening to this and they're really mad at me, I was genuinely hoping this was going to be really fun to watch and we could be like, this series has turned itself around.
It's hit its stride, right?
It hit its stride. It's found this time, what it wants to do.
And it still doesn't. It has no idea what it wants.
It's just so irritating, and I'm so
you
mad.
You almost get the feeling that this guy has had this idea of Isaac as a character. And maybe Hector, because I don't think they're from any of the games or any pre-existing Castlevania lore.
And that's fine.
And he's just like, I want to make that show. And they're like, well, no, we want you to make Castlevania. And he's like, well, I'll just make both at once.
And that would still work. Because other properties do this too. They're like, okay, we've got our main character who's got plot armor. And for this season, we really want to highlight and showcase some other characters. So we're going to put them on some side quest. And we'll cut to them every once in a while. In fact, some properties are like, hey, they get into this situation and then we don't see them for like half the season. And then we meet up with them again. They're like, yep, solve that. We didn't need to see it. And they could have done that if the director, Sam Dietz, and Warren Ellis here thought that Isaac and Hector were the more important characters this season. They could have just said, well, Trevor can be over there. Yeah. Yes, that's an interesting story, but we can save that for later.
The problem is even under those story constructions, the threads have to meet at some point. And this just refuses to want to have them meet up. You've got Hector and Isaac moving towards each other.
And I thought they were going to meet at the end.
Even
that's what
at
you're
the
setting
end
it
of
up
this
for.
season, we have Alucard, who still has not touched any of the other plots. Because if you want the main plot is obviously Carmilla is going to try to take over this tract of land.
Yeah.
Right? You have Isaac physically moving towards that plot.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got our main characters who aren't involved in that plot at all. They each have their own side separate plot that's not involved with the plot that's actually happening. And their plots don't seem to relate to that one at all. At all. They're completely divorced from it. And from each other's. It's bizarre.
And you could easily fix that. Like, you could say, okay, let's keep all the threads that we have, but we need to sprinkle in some stuff like the people that meet up with Alucard aren't these crazy Japanese twins or whatever. They're like some locals who want to learn things, but it turns out they've been working with Camilla. Okay, yeah. That'd be interesting.
Or you could have to protect themselves from Carmilla.
Yeah, and then they go nuts at the end. Who knows? You could still have that. And you could have Trevor and Cypher over here. They're dealing with this friary, but the friary's not connected to anything else going on. There's not like this other plot going on. It's just, hey, we need to... It was literally, now that I think about it, a setup for right there at the end, we're going to have fan service showing Dracula hugging his wife. Huh? Is this what this whole thing was for? Just to show us that?
Because you could have this... You could even have this priory plot if it does something, right? Where it's like the whole idea is being controlled by someone to either to get Dracula back, or Carmilla is in on it somehow.
Or you could say the Pope is in on it, and the Pope, what is it? The Holy Roman Empire, which should still be around at this point. Like, they're all conspiring to, like, they know about Camilla, and so they're going to fight Camilla, but they're at odds with Trevor too, and so Trevor and Cypher are caught between these two warring factions, and like that's an interesting thing. You can do things with that.
You have a hint of a thread with the night creature that's like broken this priory, was made by Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very tentative thread there, but
yeah, sure. Yeah. But it assumes a lot. Like Isaac can communicate with this night creature, or sent him there specifically to do this thing, which Isaac doesn't seem to care. He never alludes to it. Like, I wonder what that guy's up to. Hope he's doing what I told him, or communicating with him at some point. So now that Trevor and Cypher have gone there, the only thing that tangibly happened from the beginning of the show to the end of the show was Cypher gets some PTSD.
Yeah.
Nothing else has changed. Because all the characters in that town are now either gone through an infinite corridor or dead, and it didn't relate to anything else. So we've with Trevor and Cypher, we have accomplished nothing.
No. Yeah. I mean, again, obviously, the Infinite Corridor is going to play into the Carmilla arc next season. I mean, it has to.
Otherwise, why bring it up? Or maybe you're giving too much credit here.
I mean, I might be, but otherwise, why would you bring it up, right? Because again, you've got to pepper me with information that I am going to use later. Otherwise, it's pointless, which is half the problem with season 3. Granted, so they might do that. They might just completely drop that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it has to matter, or why would they have shown it to us?
I don't know.
But then again, there's lots of things in this season where they show us things and they just don't matter.
Netflix.
So, I don't know.
Get a new writer. Come on.
Or something.
New director, new writer. Keep the animation staff. They're doing great.
Doom had a better plot. And its plot is the Doom Marine likes to kill demons real bad, y'all.
And he's very good at it.
He's very good at it.
And at least he moves the plot along, which is I went from level 1 to level 2.
I went from level 1 to level 13 killing demons.
Hooray!
And you're happy.
Always. All right, what are we going to watch next time?
I don't know. Not this.
Well, obviously not. Because we've already suffered through it. Anything good come out last season that's wrapping up? Isaacin, I guess.
Oh yeah. We need to watch Azukin.
You want to do that, Azukin?
Yeah.
Watch a good show.
Yes, please, with beautiful animation. Yes.
Okay, fine. We're gonna watch Azukin. We already know that one's good, so
It is good. Thank you. Let's watch something that's decent.
see you guys next time.
Bye forever.